Anxiety. It can occupy days and weeks with fear, and then leave you regretting the time you've wasted. You dread the future, and then get caught up in the past. You are anxious of getting things you don't want, and about not getting the things you do want. While there's no magic pill or potion that will eradicate anxiety, the ancient Greek philosophy of Stoicism might just hold the key to getting a grip on anxious modern minds. Founded by Zeno of Citium, Stoicism was first taught in the streets of Athens in around 300 BCE. It later swept through ancient Rome, which is why some of the most famous Stoic philosophers were Roman, like Seneca, Epictetus, who was born a slave and crippled at a young age, and the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time. The primary goal of Stoicism is to live in accordance with nature by living a virtuous, meaningful, and tranquil life. It shares a lot of similarities with the ancient Chinese philosophies of Taoism and Buddhism. It puts a large emphasis on understanding yourself, your feelings, thoughts, and emotions by rationalizing them. It gives answers to troubling questions like, what do I want out of life? And provides methods and tools for living this life. Centuries later, this philosophy remains as relevant, if not more so, in modern society. The following 4 lessons will help bring calm to the anxiety you feel today. 1. Differentiate situations that are within your control and the ones outside of your control. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Epictetus. Born into a world of uncertainty, as humans we like to have things under control. It helps us believe that we can shape outcomes to our liking. But when our days do not go as planned, when others don't behave the way we want them to, we tend to get angry and frustrated. Any disturbance to the status quo makes us feel stressed and raises our levels of anxiety. We are literally suffering as slaves of circumstances by allowing them to dictate how we think and feel about ourselves and the world around us. But most things in life are not up to you. What other people think, what they do, how they feel, what they say. If you're stuck in traffic while running late, or if it rains on your birthday, you can try to influence these things, but you're not in control of them. Stoicism gives a first line of defense against what is most of the time irrational emotions that can cause you great suffering. It teaches you to take a second or a short pause to look at the emotions rationally and to use reason, virtuous thinking, and right action to keep the emotions in check. Epictetus wrote in the beginning of his book, The Enchiridion, that we are only in control of our own actions and responses towards the outer world. Whenever I see someone anxious, I ask, what does this person want? Unless you want something not under your control, how can you be anxious? When you play a musical instrument by yourself, you have no anxiety. But when you enter a music hall, even if you have a fine voice and can play the instrument well, you become anxious. You not only want to sing well, but want to be applauded by others, which is not under your control. In other words, it means to take emotions out of the driver's seat and place them in the passenger seat. However, Stoicism isn't nihilism. It isn't about not caring or not showing emotions. It's not ignoring your friends' or partner's problems and emotions because it's up to them, you have no control over their actions, right? It's about not being ruled by your emotions and impulses. This type of pragmatic efficiency is rich with lessons for anxious people, even those who suffer from depression, or anyone at all wanting to experience a bit more tranquility in their daily life. 2. Memento mori. Remember that you must die. We are tight-fisted with property and money, yet think too little of wasting time, the one thing about which we should all be the toughest misers. Seneca. Memento mori, translated from Latin, it means remember that you must die. This is a very stoic contemplation that seems depressing at first, but if you look closely, it reveals itself as actually motivating. Remember that you must die, so that you can live. Live a life of virtue, explore all your potential. Do not postpone your endeavors and hold nothing back. Because time is our greatest asset. It is extremely limited and can never be regained. Ruminating on the past or worrying about the future stops you from enjoying the present moment. Rather use your time to deal with meaningful things. Appreciate what you have while you have it. Get out and live today, as you won't always have another chance. You simply should not obsess over what you lack, but instead guide your awareness towards gratitude for what you have. I did explore this in my previous video about why searching for happiness will never get you to the finish line. 3. Face your fears and embrace uncertainty by voluntary discomfort. We will train both soul and body when we accustom ourselves to cold, heat, thirst, hunger, scarcity of food, hardness of bed, abstaining from pleasures and enduring pains. Musonius Rufus. For an anxious individual like myself, forcing on being afraid of all the things that could potentially go wrong, of all the things I want but might not even get, usually results in me spending a good long while doing absolutely nothing and then feeling bad because of it. Most of the things you care about in life involve uncertainty. You are anxious about your body, your looks, possessions, your future, and other people's opinions about you. You look for all forms of security and approval in external things, knowing at the same time that you cannot be absolutely sure you will do well in school, that people will like you, that you will always be healthy, or that you will have a happy marriage. Since one of the hallmarks of anxiety is avoidance, exposing yourself to what you are anxious about in small doses can help you build up tolerance. You don't have to allow uncertainty to stop you from living the life you want, and beyond simply tolerating uncertainty, you can embrace it as an inherent part of living. You spend so much time trying to eliminate uncertainty that you focus too much on what might happen and spend your mental energy living in a perceived future. Don't misunderstand me, there is nothing wrong in preferring these things over poverty, obscurity, or disease. However, you must realize that by becoming anxious about these things, you are not more likely to be able to get them. To help you stay in the present moment, the Stoics recommend certain attitudes towards the past, future, and the present. The Stoics would deliberately expose themselves to adversity in order to prepare for future misfortune. Seneca was known to practice days of poverty, where he would fast and wear unfashionable clothing to remind himself that people do not require luxuries to live a good life. Stoics consciously try not to obsess over what they lack. Instead, they guide their awareness towards gratitude for what they have. View each day as a new start full of opportunities. Success can easily offset fear of failure if you look in the right direction and if you're able to move on without letting your anxiety hinder you. The Stoic exercise Praemeditatio Malorum helps you to acknowledge potential setbacks in advance, so you can rehearse in your mind what could go wrong and not be caught by surprise if problems happen. But wait, what's the difference between that and your habit of anticipating the worst, which was most unhelpful? The key point here is that anxiety usually causes you to catastrophize. You think that if the imagined bad thing happened, it would be completely unbearable. Praemeditatio Malorum is supposed to show you that you already have all the resources you need to face anything that comes your way. Once you've thought about what could go wrong, don't waste time on lamenting on all those mights and ifs that might never even happen. And when adversities do strike, use mishaps as opportunities to have a love of fate called amor fati. Don't let misfortune ruin your tranquility. Rather try to derive character-building benefits wherever possible. After all, problems and struggles are only as powerful as you allow them to be in your mind. Stoicism helps you to tackle difficulties more rationally and efficiently by getting rid of toxic and negative thoughts. Convince your inner critic towards greater optimism. Learn to spot and separate reasonable worries from irrational ones. Accept that you are not infallible. 4. Build resilience by self-reflection through writing. Remember, it is not enough to be hit or insulted to be harmed. You must believe that you are being harmed. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize your mind is complicit in the provocation, which is why it is essential that we not respond impulsively to impressions. Take a moment before reacting, and you will find it easier to maintain control. Epictetus. You cannot always predict how your brain will function when it is faced with a world that is now increasingly alien to that in which we all evolved. But in order to stop having fear cripple you, you need to find some sort of mental clarity. One way to do this is by looking inward. The act of self-reflection forces you to question yourself, your desires and opinions. Journaling is one of the most effective ways for practicing mindfulness and controlling your inner irrational critic. Your thoughts and feelings become clearer in writing than in your mind. Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote down his observations and feelings daily in his now known book, Meditations. Although resilience and self-care are important, that isn't to say you shouldn't seek help from others when needed. And it is interesting that a common anxiety treatment is fundamentally similar to Stoicism in its approach. Cognitive behavioral therapy, a highly effective type of modern psychotherapeutic treatment, is based on the idea that how you think, cognition, how you feel, emotion, and how you act, behavior, all interact together. Epictetus spread the idea that your thoughts determine your feelings and behavior, and ultimately your experience of reality. Stoicism can be a powerful tool against many people's mental suffering. After all, Stoicism is not just a way to cope with anxiety, it's a way of living. As with everything new, you need to take time each day to practice. As Epictetus once said, progress is achieved not by luck or accident, but by working on yourself every day. It is difficult for a person to come to a new principle unless they should hear it every day and at the same time practice it. Remember that every philosophy is just guidance. It teaches you how to think, not what. It provides you with a box of tools and methods that you can try out and implement those you enjoy and get value from. You're not less of a Stoic for only using some of the practices I've mentioned in this video. If you wish to proceed on the Stoic path, subscribe for more videos and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching.